This is a strategic review of Apple Incorporated, presented by Yvette Ranslin Parsons for Concordia University, Nebraska Online, Strategic Management MBA Course 690 under Dr. Curtis Beck. It would be difficult to find someone that has not heard of Apple. Typically, the first thought is no longer of the fruit, it's of the device, smartphone, tablet, or some other techie gadget. The name recognition is synonymous to the best in tech. The intent of this business review is to take a more in-depth look into the management strategies used at Apple and a little deeper look into the Apple culture and explore their business practices and Apple at its core. This first slide, we see some of Apple's history. According to Apple's most recent 10K, the company designs, manufactures, and markets mobile communication, media devices, and personal computers, as well as sells a variety of related software, services, accessories, and third-party digital content and application. As you can see here, Apple's vision and mission statements are fairly generic. Reflecting on both accounts, find that each is structured and supportive of decision-making, yet would hope that as Apple is very protective of their culture, that other statements would exist that support an innovative and extreme mindset that supports their incredible results. Apple's business model is based on innovation and consumer-centric devices. They are able to keep their base due to easy-to-use designs and data migration to new product lines. As we see here, a value chain analysis, their inbound logistics, the value is due to economies of scale. Their global operations see 24% of their sales from Europe, 35% from Asia, which means larger than from the US. Their outbound logistics, with less than 600 retail stores, their sales rank them in the top 3 behind Amazon and Walmart. And their service is something that Apple stores are recognized for with their Genius Bar. The value chain analysis highlights Apple's commitment to the consumer and supports the other activities to bring this chain full circle. Of Porter's 5 generic strategies, Apple's business strategy could be best identified as differentiation. Apple tends to stifle their competition with products that continually wow its consumers. Ethics in Apple. Apple is a global giant and is very influential as a company with their culture, their employees that continually rate the organization high for their benefits, career opportunities, and leadership support. However, there is no code of conduct or ethics available for Apple, but on their website there is a supplier responsibility. Apple expects the highest standards of ethical conduct in all of their endeavors. Suppliers shall always be ethical in every aspect of its business, including relationships, practices, sourcing, and operations. Apple Incorporated 2019. Ethically, Apple has several shortcomings that include a lack of concern toward inappropriate labor conditions, environmental impact, and their approach to taxation. Apple's promotion of its supplier's code of conduct site is a strong statement to the type of treatment Apple expects from its suppliers. This is powerful leverage if a supplier wants to be in the business with Apple. There is ethical alignment in that it requires the Apple supplier code of conduct was actually created due to some suicide reports in China, and so from their most recent Supplier Responsibility Progress Report, here on this particular slide toward the bottom, you can see some of the results from their involvement. From the 5 forces analysis, which is a very helpful tool identifying the forces that impact the industry, we can see here that Apple's dominance in the consumer electronics industry is in many ways a weakness, as it may only take passing on one development of a device or a severe recall that could cripple the company. Another incident that happened just recently was a presidential mandate that limited their abilities to get sales and product from from China, where they produce a large amount. This is a strategic group map, And through the use of this mapping, you can see the competitive positioning of their rivals. And if you notice how close they are clustered, you can definitely see how competitive this particular industry is. With the next tool, the External Factor Evaluation Matrix, using a point system, the EFE evaluates conditions that, according to David and David 2017, include economic, social, cultural, demographic, environmental, political, government, legal, technological, and competitive information. From this rating system, the top strength is Apple's focus on research and development based on the consumer's needs. If Apple is going to stay ahead of the competitors, its focus must be on the consumer's needs. A SWOT and CPM analysis follow next. The SWOT, or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, simply list what are identified as those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The next step is to take and create groupings that become actual initiatives if so pursued. Followed by the competitive profile matrix. This is used to identify the firm's major competitors and its particular strengths and weaknesses. Here we've rated Google and Samsung, and you can see that Apple with a 3.48 ranking over 2.75, the closest of Samsung. You can see the success from their consumer-driven approach. From the financials, we see, most importantly, the financial ratios, beginning with the important aspect that there are year-over-year increases that Apple experiences, and that this is due to robust profit margins and shareholder benefits that have been increasing for many years. Analysts are a little concerned with Apple's high-end utilization, yet continue to support Apple because of their global force and influential history that they continue to create. Finally, to conclude, we're looking at recommendations right now. The purpose of this review was to explore the strategic business practices of Apple by comparing the competition through the use of matrices and various strategy-oriented charting to get to the core of Apple's business outcomes. The highlights of this assessment include the innovative and R&D approach that Apple has, as well as its strength with production, employee culture, healthy margins, and a non-stop ability to produce a cult-like following. Whatever Apple does, it does it well. However Apple does it, it gets there, and without a doubt, it's calculated and correct.